So that is a fairly dull title for a topic that I think is critically important to us humans as healthy people, the environment, and animal care. So I'm going to speak on 3 different topics, and I am very capable of going down a rabbit hole on any of the 3. So I will kind of try to keep it short. If you have any questions about the sources we use or more on what we want to talk about, I am happy to talk about it later with anybody on a hike or over a cup of tea. Zach, can you do the next slide, please? There we go. So we are big fans of reading and learning, watching and learning, studying what other people have done. We are not innovators in this field. We follow along. We love basically all 4 of these writers or scientists, Gabe Brown, Michael Pollan, Christine Jones of Australia, and Jim Garish. They do fantastic work. I'm put in the revolutionary genius of plants because as science sort of develops, we're learning more and more about what plants do and how much more complicated they are. I took a plant biology class in the late 90s or early 2000s, and my professor simply dismissed about 80% of the plant genome as junk DNA. And we now know that that is not true at all, that what plants are doing, interacting with each other, interacting with the weather environment, sunshine, rain, physical environment, how they're interacting with the animals who are on them and each other and the soil, with other species, bacteria, fungi, it's massive amounts of data that the plants are using and exchanging constantly. So next slide, please, Zach. So leave it here for a minute. What I want to make clear is that nature knows how to make this into this. Well, maybe less well cut, but nature knows how to turn rocks, hard minerals into edible food for us and for other species. How do they do that? How does it do that? Well, the whole natural cycle of photosynthesis, use of water and carbon that we all know about to make plants grow, the animals eat the plants. It seems simple. And yet, as humans, as Americans with our food system, we've completely screwed it up. And one of the reasons we've screwed it up is because we ignored basically one of the most important contributors to the grass growing plant or animals who eat it system, which is the soil microbiome. The life, the billions and billions of bacteria and fungi under every square foot of soil, going down feet if you have a healthy soil microbiome, is massive. So the picture with all the rocks looking rather gray was taken in 2002 by the previous owner of our ranch. In 2002, he realized that a drought was coming and ordered a drought review, a drought recommendation packet. It's a pretty small packet. Sorry about the finger. For those of you who don't know, this is it's not personal. I just heard it. 2002. He was a non-resident owner. He used the ranch for fishing and leased out grazing to anyone who would pay him, and that was the result. And the picture with the tractor and the small children in the truck is taken from just about the same place 2 or 3 years after we bought the Rafter RR Ranch. So I'm thinking it's about a 2015 picture. And in order to start that growth regenerating, we didn't do much. We left it alone. What nature can do left alone is absolutely fantastic. What we had done, bought the ranch 2013. The first 7 cows came off a trailer in spring 2014, and my eyes were about this big. Oh my God, what have we done? And we had to figure out how to make meat. Our first focus, let's raise cows. Love cows. Cows are great. Looked around the ranch is a little abused. Oh, we need to raise grass. Switched our focus. We need to raise grass. Started digging more, started doing a lot of research. We don't need to grow grass. We need a healthy soil microbiome, really healthy soils, and then all the good, yummy stuff will grow on its own. Zach, what is my next slide? Oh, okay. Kids and horses. You guys can enjoy the picture. So this picture was taken another further couple of years on. And the way we decided to improve the soil health on the ranch was to make the animals work for us. One of the things my husband, sorry, not my dad, that was weird. One of the things my husband says with some regularity is the cows work for us, and we're trying to be the laziest ranchers in Western Wyoming. And so by using rotational grazing, really dense animal sort of compaction onto specific areas of land, seeing all the wires, we move the animals around. So I have now completely left my talk notes. So stop me if I don't make any sense. Zach, may I have the next slide, please? Okay. Tying back to food and the planet in general. Trees get a lot of credit. Trees are lovely. We have a dearth of them down here. Trees get a lot of credit for sequestering carbon and cleaning the atmosphere. They do a great job. I like a tree. But the fact is that grasslands and a healthy soil microbiome can sequester tons and tons more carbon per acre than some trees. So this is a Gabe Brown research. The pre-settlement Great Plains soil organic matter was over 7% compared to about 2% now. This impacts just about everything. Think about what healthy organic soil looks like if you're digging around in dirt someplace. It is lumpy, it is dark brown, it is wet. So with healthy soils, the water is not running off. The ground is significantly cooler. At some point, a couple of years ago, we used a laser thermometer to measure the temperature of grass on our side, or the ground on our side of a fence, and the ground on a neighbor's side of the fence. The neighbor's ground, overgrazed, totally bare, gray, a lot like the picture you first saw. In fact, it was a fence along that line. His ground soil temperature was 127 degrees. Ours was 72. You get enough farmers and ranchers cooling their 10 acres, their 100 acres, their 1,000 acres, their 10,000 acres. You get ranchers and farmers having better soil absorption. Gabe Brown talks about how when he first bought his ranch, he did an analysis and he had about a 1/2 inch per hour water infiltration rate. So basically, if they had a thunderstorm and 2 inches of rain fell, 1.5 inches of water was simply washing down into the Missouri River and the Mississippi. It's gone. It's taking topsoil with it. A couple of years later, he had a different firm do another water infiltration analysis, and his soil was capable of absorbing 30 inches of rain in an hour. North Dakota, where his ranch is based, only gets 11. So, he was retaining almost all the moisture that ever fell on his ranch. Environmentally, this is critical. Water in the West is becoming critical. land temps are a major issue. We're starting to impact our own weather, obviously, because of soil temps and water. Zach, may I have my next slide, please? Hey, look, happy, healthy cows. So this is a typical size strip for our rotational grazing. This is what we do. We take these cows, we squish them onto in one paddock as soon as the growing season or grass growing season starts, and we move them every single day. Usually in the late afternoon or mid to late afternoon, because that's when the sugars in the grass are at their highest density at the top. So they get to really yummy grass on the other side of the gate we lift. And they are leaving their poop behind. They are leaving the flies behind. They are leaving parasites behind and moving on to a new, happy, healthy pasture. What does this do? This mimics how bison, elk, any sort of large ruminant animal would have been moving across any grasslands in the past. They rarely went back to where they just finished pooping. I mean, we try not to. Why would the animals do this? And by doing this, we have improved not only the health of our soil, and range, which is really our primary focus. We start with that. But the results are much healthier cattle, much calmer cattle. We no longer deworm the cattle, so they're getting no ivermectin or any of the others. We have much lower infection rate to the point of really almost none of pink eye, hoof rot, any pneumonias. Put a little side item here that by being smaller, happier, healthier cows, Galloways don't get brisket either. So at this high elevation, we don't lose animals to brisket, which some ranchers, particularly after the Roosevelt fire, lost about a third of their Angus or Hereford calves to brisket. So breed selection is important to us too. Plus, they're just so damn cute. I mean, how could you not one? So now we've got a healthy soil microbiome. We had to dig for a new well. One of the places where we've been practicing holistic management and rotational grazing, and we had tap roots and dark soil going down about 6 feet. Versus that sort of rocky picture you saw in the beginning. It doesn't take all that much time. We're now 10 years in. And this picture, most of the pictures I'm showing you are several years old because I'm not organized about taking pictures. Okay, yes, next. Now I'm gonna follow my notes. How does what we do affect consumers and the industrial food complex? Well, we're small. We can sell our meat to local customers. It can ship to a couple of friends. We can supply at the farmers market. But if there's a conglomeration of people doing what we do and consumers who really start understanding that the industrial food complex is probably one of the more damaging enterprises in our environment today, we can make a difference. I have great faith in consumers once consumers have information. So Michael Pollan wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma and has infinite amount of blog space. He's fascinating. He's a wonderful man. According to Pollan's, he did this research in 2002, and our food system has not improved since 2002. For every 1 calorie of processed foods we eat, a Girl Scout cookie, a DiGiorno pizza, a McDonald's burger, for every 1 calorie that we eat of that, 10 calories, petroleum calories, went into it. Between fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizers, pesticides, which are also often generated through the petroleum product system, shipping, packaging, just everything. So this is absolutely my hand waving thing. It kills me. And it doesn't mean that I don't occasionally eat junk food. We all do. But the cost of our food system is too high now. It's unsustainable. Most of the corn and grain and soy grown for the industrial food complex is grown above the Ogallala Aquifer, which is getting drained. So this is also true of ethanol. If you're putting ethanol into your car, you're draining the Ogallala Aquifer. We need, as a country and as individual consumers, to really, really understand the true cost of our foods. So there's often an argument that organic or farmers market food costs too much. It's probably the real cost. That is the real cost of food. We sell sort of a standard industry rate for grass-finished beef. It is more expensive than a McDonald's burger or Kroger, but we're reflecting real cost. Zach, next, please. Yay, happy, healthy food. So actually, Zach, could you please pull the next? No. Oh, it was the previous one. So that slide somehow didn't present. It's easy to pull. Anybody could Google them. The health effects of really healthily raised cattle, or any meats really, that are grown on a variety of plants. One thing that I didn't cover when I was showing pictures of grasslands is that despite what the pictures look like, this is not only are we not running a monoculture, we aim at any given time for 8 to 12 different species of plant, legumes, grasses, even weeds, dandelions. Dandelions are a great sign that soil health is trying to improve itself. And the animals get a wide variety of multiple plant types. And once an animal is eating a much broader variety of plant life, and that's what the previous slide was, a quote from a paper, I can't look it up right now, saying that there are just immense benefits in the meat and milk or animal products from grass-finished beef raised on a wide variety of forage. So the article was from the Frontiers of Sustainable Food. It's a very interesting journal, and they do publish a lot of articles on the how food is more sustainable. So we get back to this. This has everything in it that we need to be healthy. How does it get from this to this? And the answer is the soil microbiome under the soil. The bacteria, the fungi, the root system, all work together to break down rock. Rock turns into dirt or inorganic matter, after which it's used and converted into organic matter. A really healthy set of pastures, the animals grazed on them don't need mineral. We still have to feed mineral. We're 10 years out. We still know, we do analysis from time to time. We still know that our animals are a little mineral deficient in several micronutrients, like copper. We know we're copper deficient. So I guess the bottom line is, and my sort of end and stop waving my hands around, is that if we as food consumers, as food growers, allow nature to use the system that it developed over hundreds of thousands of years that works, our food is going to be more healthy. Let's see, they had a couple more slides, Zach, and I'll go really fast. So they're happy cows. Nope, can you go back to the one about obesity? I think 2 up. I may have missed, never mind. So I'm just going to do one last statement, which is that the industrial food complex foods that we're eating are making us fat, making us unhealthy. I read a study this week that said in 2021, sort of the height of COVID, the US spent $4 trillion on healthcare. $4 trillion. And a lot of the people who were most vulnerable to COVID were the obese and those with immune problems. And that's a lot of those unhealthy lifestyles, unhealthy systems are the result of foods that aren't real foods. Bodies crave things, bodies crave nutrients, bodies crave minerals, but our bodies don't signal that craving in a sensible way. They signal that craving as hunger. And Doritos and Pizza Hut satisfies that hunger. So we think we've satisfied that craving, and we haven't. We haven't gotten phytonutrients. We haven't gotten micronutrients. We haven't gotten our vitamins. We've barely gotten our calcium and vitamin D. And so then we eat more of that stuff. So we're almost as a country starving ourselves in an excess of food. And so the more consumers that we can teach that real food that looks closer to what it was when it was grown or slaughtered, the healthier our bodies are going to be. And as a country, even as a planet, the healthier we can all be. And it's all one system. My one analogy is how many of us don't feel that our healthcare, personal healthcare, is being served well by an array of specialists. How many of us are actually looking for one doctor who could kind of take a holistic look? Well, we can do that holistic look at food with unmonocultures, with fewer pesticides or none, with fewer fertilizers or none, and satisfy the food needs and nutritional health needs of humans in a much more careful way. So careful food.
Thank you so much, Sonja. That was fascinating. And
well, it is, if anybody ever has questions or would like to focus on one topic, not something I'm good at once, I really am happy to sit calmly at some point and, have a more focused conversation. I do get very excited about this and left my notes in the dust a long time ago. So.
I'm glad you wandered around. That was insightful. Okay. And thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Scott now. I think he's got a slideshow. He can share his screen, or I can share my screen with your slideshow if that works.
Let me see if I can get mine going here, Zach, so I can see my notes.
Great.
Let's see. First, cue it up.
Oh, I just got a message that I might have been muted for the song. So sorry if none of you heard the song. I enjoyed it myself.
We could tell you could hear it because you're bobbing your head back.
So sorry.
All right. Are you looking at my screen, Zach?
Yep, looks good. You're sharing.
All right, that's great.
Take it away.
Cool. Put this somewhere else. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a great opportunity. And before I begin, Sonja, it's really fun to share a mic with you. We work with Sonja all the time, and what she's doing and the other farmer. I mean, Sonja and her family and the other farmers and ranchers that are doing work like hers are heroes. They really are. I know that sounds like I'm overstating it, but I'm not. Like, they are preserving biodiversity. They're creating healthful options for our food. They're combating climate change. They're building community. It's at someday, if things keep going downhill, we're going to be looking to those folks for some help and some guidance. But like, it's true. Like, we need more folks like them. And that's really the bread and butter of what slow food in the Tetons is all about, because without farmers like Sonja and ranchers like Sonja, I mean, we wouldn't exist. So I'm Scott Steen. I'm the executive director for Slow Food in the Tetons. We're a nonprofit in town. We're part of a let me first with a little backstory about me, just because that's kind of fun. I've been with Slow Food for about 10 years in different roles, and I came into this work via outdoor education. I love hanging out in the woods with kids. There's so much learning that can happen experientially from spending several days in a canoe or in the mountains in the rain or rock climbing or something like that. And that was all at the summer camp. And we slowly moved this idea of experiential education. Of course, we didn't start this, but we learned on our own that you can achieve a lot of the same stuff in a garden, and it's a lot more accessible. We could probably get every 8th grader in the US into a garden, but we couldn't get them all to Grand Teton National Park. And so we started at a summer camp noticing how gardening could play a really important role. And we slowly moved our program. Imagine 400 hungry boys, all ages like 8 to 13, in one giant cafeteria eating Cisco food, just all food like that. We slowly moved it to a system where it was all scratch cooking from local farms, and I saw the light. That was some of the work I needed to do. So I'm so passionate about it. So my backstory a little bit. And so this is a photo of most of our board and staff from last year. It's been a little change, but that's mostly us, smiling faces in the Teton sunshine. Our vision with Slow Food in the Tetons is good, clean, and fair food for all. And that's the vision that permeates every slow food chapter. There's 120 chapters in the USA and 160 worldwide that are part of slow food. And our mission, particularly in Teton County, we get to set our mission as long as we are within good, clean, and fair food. We get to do what we want with that, what makes sense for this community. It's to grow the local and regional food system by supporting producers and educating consumers and connecting them together in the spirit of good, clean, and fair food. And so that's really what we're all about. What I'm going to do is go over basically what Slow Food in Tetons does through some, hopefully some lovely photos. And from that, I think you'll be able to glean some of the connection between what we do and what the Land Trust does with conserving land for agricultural purposes. There's connection there, but with every program we do, but some of it's more indirect. But I think you'll see that, and so I'll try to dabble into that as we go through this. So our theory of change. Really, I already talked about our mission and vision. I was looking at the next slide up and talking about it. So anyway, I'll skip to the next slide. Our theory of change really involves 3 main approaches. The first one, and I'll kind of talk about each one and then show some photos, but there's 3 of them. The first one is really to support and build community food systems. And it's self-explanatory maybe, but that's really another way of saying local food systems. And it's all about year-round commerce, where all these amazing farmers like Sonja can find folks like you to eat their food. We inherit this crazy industrialized food system that is global at scale, and we've seen recently through COVID is not that resilient. And having an alternative food system, either altogether or to complement this, is critical. And so we try to build that food commerce system through our People's Market, which is a farmer's market, our online farmer's market. We have a farm stand and an event called the Farm to Fork Festival. Here is a photo of the People's Market last year at the Center for the Arts. So it's 12 years old. We've been in the market for that long. It used to be in several different locations. This is our new home for now. Last year, through the market, the farmers and ranchers sold $450,000 in direct sales to consumers. And so it really does support the food system in a big way. 120 farmers, ranchers, and other vendors. You've been there, you've seen other vendors. So it's not all farmers and ranchers, but there's 120 vendors there. We estimate through some studies, like around 50,000 attendees throughout the summer. And we do 17 of them. We'll do them again from this summer, from June to September. There's a photo of one of the spreads at the market. Sonja was talking about all the different attributes of the beef that she raises, and she forgot to say flavor. Same with these veggies. Like, you just taste the difference. Like, if you get tired of talking about all these amazing other facts, just eat some and you'll notice the difference. The second program is our online marketplace. We started this 2 years ago, and it was really change based on COVID. We noticed what was happening in the grocery stores and with our industrialized food supply chain. The cracks in the foundation of the supply chain were scary, and we had empty grocery store shelves and people didn't want to be in there in those stores. And so we started this online market. They started up all over the country. It's amazing. And many of them, like ours, are still going. So basically you shop online for some of the same food you find at the farmer's market. You shop online and you order on Monday, Tuesday right now, and you pick up on Thursday. Some people might have been there today picking up their salmon and their food from us. So today was a pickup. So last year, $168,000 in direct sales went directly to farmers and ranchers through this program. We have last year, I think we had around 3,500 customers, and there's 30 local and 15 regional farms and ranches supported. We've done other cool stuff with that, but I'll keep moving for the sake of time. The Slow Food Farm Stand, that's in some ways mixed in with the online marketplace because it's where we do the pickup. This is by Twigs, the Movie Works Theater, Movie Works Plaza. And in the summer, if you roll up here, you'll see a beautiful bounty of fresh produce and regional fruits, local vegetables, all sorts of great things. So that's the third piece of our kind of local food commerce. In between the farm stand and the online marketplace and the people's market, $750,000. So $750,000 went directly to farmers and ranchers through those programs. And it grows. It's growing like 20% a year, the whole thing. So we're seeing if you build it, they will come, and it's not because of us, but it's just we're just in the right place at the right time. There's this amazing local food movement at hand. It's a groundswell. And then our Farm to Fork Festival is our annual fall event, which happens in the first weekend of October, where this all comes together. It's a giant community celebration of our local food systems, our food culture, of the harvest. It's about raising awareness. It's about being together as a community around some of the food that was grown in our community. This big lineup is our free locally sourced lunch for 500 people. So that's part of it. We want to talk about food access. We just invite as many people as we can feed to eat an amazing locally sourced lunch. And all the dishes are made by local chefs. And that'll be happen again this year. The second part of our sort of theory of change, or our program area, is education. We can build this up, but we also need to grow this movement from seed. So much of what we do has to do with little kiddos. That's really playing the long game, kind of my personal experience as well, getting kids in the garden. But we also have adult education, but we're reconnecting all ages to the experience of growing and preparing and eating and sharing and enjoying food. It's a great part of our work. It's so rewarding. We run summer camps, cooking and farming summer camps. We'll do 5 of them. Imagine 12 kids showing up at this venue here. Actually, we're changing venues, but it's as beautiful. And there's an outdoor kitchen. We just cook all day, and we go to the garden whenever we want to harvest an ingredient for whatever we're making. It's a remarkable program, and it's been going on for 5 years. And it's my favorite thing that we do. We have after-school cooking classes as well. Moved online 2 years ago for obvious reasons, and have stayed there. Hopefully we'll be back in the classroom soon. We do those at Summit Innovation School. Here's on the left is one of our instructors, and above him you see the kiddos, each in their individual kitchen, cooking along. Then you see the kiddo view, give him the thumbs up to Ian to make sure we're all on track. Ian is the instructor. And so those are extremely fun as well. And part of what happens when you sign up as a student for the 8-class session, we do 3 sessions a year in a school year, is that we give you a local ingredient box. I'm not going to read all these, but this is the last ingredient box. So we'll weave all these amazing ingredients into the kids' cooking classes throughout those 8 sessions, those 8 weeks. And we'll talk about them and taste them and support local farms that way as well. Okay. We have adult cooking classes as well. This is a collaboration that's happening right now. It's a 7-class series. This is some folks from the Teton Literacy Center. So we're in there doing a similar type of class where we're cooking with food from the region and from the direct Teton area. So this is there's 12 students in this class, and it's going really well. It's fun. And then the last thing we do around education is we have a printed food directory. This is one page of it. It gets we put it inside of Dishing Magazine, and it goes out in the summertime, but we also have printed copies. And it's a directory of farmers, of ranchers, of CSAs, prepared food and packaged food that supports local farmers, and restaurants that support local farmers and ranchers. And our third kind of piece of the puzzle for our program areas of a theory of change for building a better food system is good, clean, and fair food access. So Sonja mentioned something about cost and how the food that she's selling and the food that the farmers and ranchers are selling around here reflect the true cost of that food. That doesn't change the fact that, and it's true, it's 100% true, but it doesn't change the fact that you can get something that looks similar in the store for a third of the price. And not everyone has access to some of this more, you say more expensive food, but some of this food is priced correctly. And so we have programs that try to combat that issue. So we run community gardens. We have several other partnerships and a thing called the Veggie Voucher Program, and I'll talk about it in a minute, and a new online market initiative that I'll mention in a moment, and a grant program as well. So there's some photos of our community gardens. So Slow Food manages the gardens at May Park, at Blair, and recently now at the Grove. We put a new garden in there, and we're working to create additional gardens in the community. And there's around 160 plots in all of these gardens. So each of those is a family is assigned to it, or a person. Some of them are for institutions or organizations, and most of it are individual people that don't have room in their backyard to grow food. And so this is an amazing part of the food access equation, because I've heard he's called the gardener gangster, the gangster gardener, a guy out of LA who does urban gardens. He talks about how growing food is like printing your own money. You know, it's gangster in that way, and it's true. You can just put a seed in the ground, and so of course these aren't feeding people completely. It's not taking care of their entire diet, but it's a big piece of the health puzzle. And so we'll try to get as many people garden beds as possible. And then we have our this is our veg. So generally our food access initiatives, but this is our Veggie Voucher Program. We have printed and online promo codes. We raise money for this through organizations and donors, and we give these veggie vouchers out to organizations that we partner with, like 122, like the Teton Literacy Center, like St. John's Diabetes Education, in the past, the Free Clinic. And we ask them to just hand those out to anyone who thinks they might use it or want it. And the idea is to try to increase food access and combat the price issue. It doesn't combat all the problems with food access, but it does help with the price. So this is a photo of a tour we did at a winter market a couple of years ago, where we invited a number of people that we've been doing a class with to come to the market and have lunch with us and take a tour and meet all the farmers. And so that was fun. And the final piece of our food access puzzle is a newer initiative. It's called the Teton Farmer Fund. And so this is a grant program that Slow Food gives out. We do $10,000 a year, and this is our second year doing it. And we have a simple application for local farmers and ranchers to apply for a project that will increase, that will grow our food system. Anything like infrastructure needs, disaster relief, staffing issues, a number of things we can help local growers out. Just hand them a check. And last year, you're looking at a photo of Sweet Hollow Farm. They built a greenhouse, and this is their first year in production in the greenhouse. That's over in Victor. A lot of that food does come over to our side in the farmers markets and online markets. And that was amazingly rewarding to get to hand Jonah a check. This year, we opened it up more broadly to everybody. That last year was kind of our pilot, and this year we had 8 applicants. 8 farmers applied for $80,000 worth of projects, all legitimate, all local farms. Everyone could have used it, and we awarded Canewater Farm. They were the winner for this year, and they'll be doing a similar thing, building a greenhouse. We went back to our funding sources, including the Teton Conservation District, huge supporters, and they do so much good work in the community. They helped us raise funds to also support 2 additional projects this last year, 2nd and 3rd place. So Winter Winds, they're a goat farm. They do cheese and Victor, and they needed fencing to set up a rotational grazing system for their animals. And we got them the money they need to do that. And then Kendall, down at Larks Meadow Farm near Idaho Falls, he makes delicious cheese, and he's going to get a check to buy a new cheese vat. So we were able to distribute $27,500 to 3 farms this year through the Teton Farmer Fund. And that's the last piece really of our food access initiative. That brings me to the end of the slideshow, but all the work that we're doing at Slow Food in the Tetons with our staff of 4 and our amazing board and our lovely network of farmers and ranchers and supporters and believers in the slow food movement it's integral to creating positive change in the community. And we hope to work more with folks like the Land Trust that can preserve land or find land to grow more food. It's honestly something that we really need to look towards, and it's especially challenging in our community where 97% of the land here is publicly owned. There's not much land and it's hard to get. So I think between all of us, we can work to put a higher value on that land that is great for growing food, to maybe grow and put another farm on it instead of a development potentially, things like that. So thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Scott. I'm such a huge fan of the slow foods movement, and it's just great to learn more about it. Just as a reminder, we'll have Max wrap up the presentation here, and then we'll have a short Q&A session. And I just want to thank Sonja and Scott and everyone for joining in. It's so great to share this time with you all. With that being said, Max, have at it.
Yeah, thanks, Zach, and thank you, Sonja and Scott, for everything that you guys do. I'm just going to connect a couple of threads to the work of the Jacksonville Land Trust, and kind of a lot of this has been talked about, but I would just put a slightly different lens on this. So the Jacksonville Land Trust has over 57,000 acres under easement in this area, in this greater area across 5 counties in Northwest Wyoming. Primarily, our easements are located in Teton Sublette counties, and then the northwest part of Fremont County in the DuBois area. The vast bulk of those acres under easement are on working lands, farms or ranches. And so a lot of our work, one of the key reasons that we protect land is agricultural values. And it's one of the key reasons that we will work with a landowner to put a conservation easement to protect those lands. And one of the reasons, and you could see this in a lot of Sonja's slides, is that agricultural lands protect so much more than just a food system, a food shed. As you saw in Sonja's, you're protecting water quality, you're protecting soil health, you're protecting ecology, you're protecting the movements through there. So you're protecting all of these other things. You're protecting a local economy, a local economic function, and actual local jobs. All of those things come from the land, and the land is the base. And everything that Scott was saying and everything that Sonja is saying, the key critical input in all of that is the land. And so how will we continue to protect those lands that are most productive, those lands that are able to feed us all? Zach said in his intro, this concept of what's a food shed, and I think most people are familiar with a watershed and where your water comes from. It's it functions as a system. The concept of food shed is, you could probably it's pretty plainly obvious the way I'm talking about it, but it's, where does your local food come from? How big is your food shed? Is there enough? What can you get locally in terms of food production that you can put on your table? The slow foods markets are just kind of classic example of that. What you can draw from in a relatively small area that you can draw from, you can feed yourself pretty well in this area, and it's remarkable. And with the short growing season that we have, so a lot of our work in terms of protecting agricultural lands are focused on that. How do you protect that base of land from which we can continue to feed this community? If you look, it's actually remarkable if you go to the farmers market, the slow food market, and you look at how many of the farms and ranchers that are producing food, that are selling food there, are under conservation easement, either with us, the Jacksonville Land Trust, or the Teton Regional Land Trust over in Teton Valley. It's actually incredible. Just that is one of the major ways in which we have been able to protect food production in an area where we're seeing incredible development pressure, just tremendous development pressure and land use change. And so one of the things I touched on of why we're protecting this is these local economies. And I'm going to be very brief on this, but I'm going to get a little nerdy and talk about business for just 1 second. There's a business model that goes into what Sonja was discussing and what Scott was discussing. Sonja's producing this land producing food from this land and then able to sell it at marketplaces like what Slow Foods is helping to produce, and Slow Foods helping to connect consumers to those food sources. It is really difficult to be the only working ranch in the community. I was looking at one of your pictures, Sonja, there, kind of when you guys are moving rotational grazing. And if you think of like that surrounded by subdivisions, like if that's completely surrounded by houses and all of the problems that would create for Sonja, instead of having a rancher across the fence, if she has a subdivision across the fence, there's weeds that come with that. There's changes in water use, like how does her water system function? There's all kinds of just other issues that come with that. And so what the economies under which these ranches produce, the business model really is, you think of the independent rancher, a lot of these ranchers are dependent on other ranchers. It's really this community-based focus of the ranching community, that's how they survive. And so every time you see a ranch get converted into a subdivision or developed, you're seeing that shrink, that pool of ranchers from which really that is built, that community ethic is built. And so when we talk about protecting agricultural lands within a food shed, what we're talking about is trying to protect that system of not just that individual property. Of course, we're focused on that individual property, but how do you protect that entire system of land, that base of land by which we can continue to feed this community? The last thing I wanted to say is when we protect those lands, it's not just that we're preventing a subdivision or a second home from getting built there. We're also creating the flexibility for the initiatives that Sonja was talking about, where you see that land actually improve. There's a lot of innovation going on in the farming and the ranching community right now. People are trying new things. We see that within our easements. It's kind of amazing what landowners out there trying to do. And it's having widespread benefits beyond just on those individual properties. Wildlife tend to benefit from all of these things. That we're talking about water quality and riparian habitat and stream flow downstream of these ranches, that all of those things tend to improve as you see these improvements over time. So by taking the development pressure off of some of these lands, our conservation easements are helping to open up some of these opportunities to actually tweak and improve the systems over time. I just want to finish off by saying thanks so much. The things that ranchers like Sonja are doing are amazing. Scott, I think, called the heroes. It's remarkable. I'd encourage everyone to go look. It's just, you can see it, just the difference in some of these properties and land management techniques that take place. And then the work that Slow Food and the Tetons is doing, like turning community focus onto these critical issues. That's just, it's a wonderful partnership for us to be able to support the landowners as we see all of this land conserved and our food production systems continue to evolve and hopefully improve over time. So thanks for everything you both do. And Zach, are we taking questions now? Is that right?
We are, yes. Let's open it up to any questions.
The answer is yes. I always talk that much in scattershot.
There you go. Hi. I don't know if this is directly associated with Scott or Sonja, though I admire you both. I grew up on a ranch in Alberta, and we have some, we raise what I call predator cows, with cows with horns. We border Glacier Waterton Complex in the Biosphere Reserve, and we never have problems with the resident bears, wolves, lions that we have up there. And I don't know if you touched on that. I had to join a little late, but I wanted to bring up another point, which was I was driving down Spring Gulch Road, and the land that's in the center has just had all its willows removed from the creek. I was really shocked and unhappy about that. I don't know how that happened, or if the land trust ever had a chance of maybe talking to those people, or if it was just done. I'm not even sure when it was done, but it was really sad because those willows shade the creek, and they that do so many wonderful things for that property, and it was too bad to see. I just thought I would mention it, if you knew anything about that.
I'm happy to field that one, and I see Derek Ellis, our stewardship director, on here. You can chime in if you want. I actually believe, Jeannie, that they were clear. It was their irrigation ditches, and that those were willows that had overgrown their irrigation ditches, and they cleaned out the irrigation ditches. I think the creek corridor itself actually remains totally intact, and a lot of that is protected under conservation easement. So that I think what you saw was just actually deferred maintenance from a number of years. They had not been cleaning out their canal system.
Yep, that's right, Max. And also that easement, part of that, those willows that were removed are actually off the easement area, but also their easement does allow for the removal. They're actually increasing pasture productivity. So they were removing willows to increase grass production, which was allowed by the terms of their easement there.
Sonia, do you care to comment on predators?
I can comment, but we really have not had a problem. So we are 25 miles from the forest boundary. We do green grass calving. The earliest any of our calves are going to hit the ground would be probably mid to late April. We aim for May 1st. So last year's first calf was April 16th. And we don't have a problem. We have seen solitary wolves. This year, we actually had a bobcat kind of move in. He really liked the tack room. So we encouraged him to move further out. But no, and I think it's part of careful management of the land. Those predators don't need our calves. By the time our calves are hitting the ground, we've got geese, goslings, all sorts of small rodents running around. All of these are easier prey than a calf with a mom. So no, we don't have a problem, nor do we. So we have probably on any given year on this particular piece of property is, as you guys know, about 1,300 acres long and thin. And we have 2 or 3 coyote packs, and we just leave them alone. The only time we've ever shot a coyote is if it really gets comfortable in the yard. We've had them paw at the back door. That's pushing it a little, but no, we don't have a predator problem. And I think the way we manage the cattle is part of the reason we don't have a problem. To be fair, we don't run on the forest, we don't have a BLM or forest allotment. So we do have full control of the properties where the animals are grazed.
It is
really cute.
It is 6 o'clock, so I just want to be aware that we're nearing the end here. I did have one question I wanted to ask you, Sonja. Do the people who neighbor you and also run cattle, do they ever ask you for advice or input on?
No, not so far. So we are flanked by easement properties, ryegrass ranches. So that's not entirely true. Sten and Robert were certainly interested in what we were doing when they bought that property. Some new guys bought Cottonwood Ranches east of us. That is a Wyoming livestock growers property. And we've certainly had plenty of neighbors and cowboys look over the fence and go, oh, that's different. And that's really working. We will have, in the last time I was on drought years, we'll have green grass and standing grass 4 to 6 weeks longer than the neighbors. But no, so far, nobody's been banging down our door to borrow miles and miles of electric fence. But I feel like we're showing what can be done. People, grocery store, are you haying? We don't hay. And sort of a related issue, down here in Sublette County, an enormous number of the ranch wives, rather than the ranch husbands, are the ones really running the books. And so we'll sit at the skate rink or other kids' sports things and really talk about the money aspect. And a lot of the wives are really interested in what we're doing because we are not spending money in a lot of the places they have to spend money. And so in that sense, I get a lot of questions. What do you mean you're not haying? What do you mean you're not hiring a crew? What do you mean you're not fertilizing? These are all places where we're saving money that a traditional outfit isn't. I have one friend who was exhausted the day she had to leave from Cora, Wyoming, to drive to Idaho Falls at 4 a.m. for a $12 tractor part. That doesn't end up being a $12 part by the time she's gotten back. Certainly some people are noticing that the lower input and more natural holistic management is cheaper, what we're doing. And it's one of the reasons we can keep our beef prices, despite being very good beef, and running them 2 winters, which is unusual, but we can keep the price within normal range because of the number of places we're not spending other monies. By my standards, that was concise.
Above and beyond, I appreciate it. We probably have time for one last question, if anyone has anything burning on their mind. Any takers? Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you learned as much as I did. And yeah, look forward to a healthy calving season and seeing some of the slow foods farmers markets.
Okay. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you all for joining. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.